Hey, welcome back. It's Pedram at the Urban Monk podcast. I have a friend on the show today, Sage Lavine. I love what she's done. She's stepped through a life of mediocrity and now she is like owning it on stage, helping women become conscious entrepreneurs and really stepping into their light and into their power. And she does it in a very kind of interesting and humble way. So if you are interested in making the world a better place and you're stuck behind something, I think this one's going to really help you through. And Sage, she's delightful. So you've been leading events for women in our world for a while, and it's great because you step through a lot of your own kind of past and history and kind of small self to become your bigger, kind of brighter, shinier self. And I know you've been inspiring a lot of people in our world to do so. I've seen you speak. I think that you're a natural, but you've kind of stepped into those shoes in a lot of ways. So where'd you come from?
I came from being a school teacher in Iowa. My mom didn't want me to sell Girl Scout cookies. She was afraid that we were going to offend the neighbors. Hi, Luna wants to say hi, by the way. She's a leader in her own right.
Hi, Luna.
And she has a lot to say about how awesome the Urban Monk series is. So thank you so much, Pedram, for having me. It's an honor to be here with all of you. And yeah, I started out as a timid little girl from Iowa whose friends used to pick on her, who used to get, horribly and painfully rejected and left out. And now I'm running a $5 million a year business, and I'm serving hundreds of thousands of people. And it really happened just because I said yes to one thing at a time, and I didn't let the fear stop me. And I think that's something that it's so common for those of us that are being called to a greater leadership level to do, to let the fear slow us down. But really the question is it fear or is it excitement? And how do we actually recognize that when that fear trigger goes off, it's something greater inside of us wanting to be expressed, right? Or else we wouldn't be afraid of it in the first place. I always like to say, if there's fear, run toward it. And that's been the way I've been living my life, from being a timid schoolgirl from Iowa to being a science teacher, teaching ecology in high school, to learning to run my business for the very first time. And really standing for the women who are here to make a difference on the planet, and the few good men that are as well.
Few good men.
All the good men.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem is that I think the sentiment with your gender has been there all along. You just have a sensibility that is just less, insane. You don't want to cut through things, and you feel things more than we do kind of traditionally. And so there's this huge gap, though, in the business world and the working world, where the people who have the softer sensibilities oftentimes are not on the stages or in those leadership roles, and that's where you stepped in to really empower thousands and thousands of women at this point to kind of own it and shine and step into it. And to me, that's exactly where conscious business and conscious capitalism needs to go. We need more girls. We need more women. We need that energy here. Yeah, so right on. And you're doing it. So you're a foot soldier, and you're also leading the leaders and trying to get people to step into leadership roles. Let's go back to you, though. What got you as the science teacher to say, enough of this bullshit, I'm tired of playing small ball, I really need to step into my power and shine as the woman that you've become today?
God, I was sick of being said no to. You know what I mean? I was sick of people saying, no, you can't. That's not necessarily a woman's job. My mom shushed me over and over and over again growing up. Every time I was loud, it was like, shush, shush, shush. And I see it happen to all of us, men and women alike. And that's what the Hay House book is about. The reason Hay House has picked me up is because they see that I'm weaving women's values into a path of entrepreneurship. And it's not just about the women, it's about the men and and the women that are ready for a more feminine approach. You know, we've been accused of being people pleasers. We've been accused of avoiding conflict. These are actually the very things that make us brilliant leaders on the planet. You know, our people pleasing endears those of influence to us. Our ability to diffuse conflict comes in very handy in so many situations. And you know, Pedram, I've seen you do this. I've seen you endear yourself with that feminine part of you so beautifully. And the world is ready for more conscious leaders. You know, this idea of the urban monk is, and the way that you've risen so quickly, to me, it's such an example of what the world is hungry for: authenticity, congruency, and leaders who aren't putting on mask after mask after mask and promising magic pills and rainbows and butterflies, right?
But that's what people buy. And that's the problem, right? There's this huge deficit, and thank you for the kind words. There's this huge deficit between what people need and what people are told that they should need. And there's this enormous market out there that's just parasitic. And you know, the people that step up and call bullshit are the people that are actually building audiences and stepping into these kind of leadership positions, because people are just tired of that, right? And there's just, you know, TV sucks and everything's trying to sell you something. And so who do I trust, right? And so if you are a person who's afraid of stepping out there, but you have a message, chances are you need to kind of step through that and get up on a stage with Sage over here and really step into that, right? And not with Sage, just, you know, with your influence, obviously, right? Because then you can help make the world a better place. It's really hard, if you are still in your shell, to transform a world that needs you.
And I'll be honest, I think as conscious beings on a leadership path, we're doing a lot of inner work. There's a lot of us that are doing all this inner work, and there's no substitute for the outer work that we have to do to get that message out there or to step into that leadership role, right? So I just really encourage every single one of you to be willing to throw yourselves out there as an imperfect version of yourself. You know, don't wait for it to be polished. Don't do that thing that we do where we're like, oh, what's my next step? Oh, what's my message? You know, I mean, I like to say clarity comes from taking action and not the other way around. And so I really encourage you to say yes to that next leadership project. You know, I started by leading workshops in my living room. I literally started by inviting some girlfriends over, putting an ad in the local paper, 8 women sitting on my couches with my cats and their cup of tea, and I started talking about women's empowerment. And it was from there that I realized that the women that I liked working with the most wanted to start businesses. And it was from there that my training company evolved, and we're now, you know, running a multi-million-dollar company and employing, you know, dozens of women underneath me. And I never would have thought that I would be here sitting back in my living room, but I also never would be here had I not just been willing to start where I was and just one step after the other. And really, I think that when we're conscious and when we're beginning to manifest, we're doing that work on ourselves, it's like we can see the version of ourselves 5 years down the road. We can actually see it, touch it, taste it, feel it, but there's this gap between where we are now and where we want to go. And sometimes that's the hardest part, is just like being willing to take that one step at a time.
So, I mean, the gap obviously speaks to this thing called fear, which we all have. And no one likes to speak in public. No one wants to step through. No one, you know, people have been shushed their whole lives. So you used a couple words, women's empowerment, right? And coupled that with this intent for at least the people that were in your life to want to start their own business. So how can we empower well-intentioned people to start their own conscious businesses to help make the world a better place? Because I know that's what you do.
It starts with you being willing to get your message out there. It starts with you, even in an imperfect version of your message, even when you don't actually know exactly what that message is. It starts with you one project at a time. You know, I tell my clients, just what is it that you want to do next? And again, workshops in the community center, hosting a free event at the bookstore, starting with the people in your community circle. What is it that you want to say? And to actually practice saying it in front of a live audience. The mistake I see so many emerging entrepreneurs make is that we start to want to go create content in a closet. We've had these beautiful transcendent experiences meditating and in silence, and we sometimes want to bring our business into that silence with us, but the world wants our message to come out into the world with it, right? The world wants to play with who we are. And so rather, like when you catch yourself creating all this stuff in your journal or in a closet or in your head or wherever you're doing it, I'm going to ask you again, what's that one step you can take to actually start sharing this with people? And I have clients all the time say, but what if somebody copies my idea? What if somebody steals it? And I'll be honest, nobody can steal you. They just can't, they can never do it the way that you're planning on doing it. And having that feedback from people, whether you're in conversation or whether you actually have some people over and circle up and start teaching and sharing a message, having that feedback from live human beings is going to be invaluable to your process because you're going to get immediate feedback on how your message lands. Here's another tip. I like to tell emerging entrepreneurs to see if your message actually passes what I call the face test. And that means that when you describe your avatar or your ideal client, right, and you'll hear me use those terms interchangeably, whether your avatar or your ideal client is a woman who's been going through a divorce or a spiritual being who's seeking to bring their spirituality into their everyday life. Your client, Pedram, I think is very conscious, seeking to kind of, live outside of the box, right? Create a path for him or herself, to really describe that person. And when you describe that person to some of your friends or colleagues, that description should pass the face test. They should actually have a face or two faces or 10 faces come to mind when you describe who it is that you'd like to help on the planet. And again, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a traditional niche. It doesn't have to be women age 30 to 40 going through a divorce. It can be the spiritual seekers that are seeking to bring their spirituality into everyday life. But one of the things that you can't do is you can't be all over the board. You can't be one day saying, I want to help people learn how to use their intuition, and the next day saying, I want to help people learn how to, have a past life experience. It's like, choose something to be an expert in. You could do both, but then you need an overarching level of messaging that you're really stepping into, such as the Urban Monk, right? You can have a lot of conversations underneath the Urban Monk brand, but Pedram, you're consistent. You're always bringing it back to consciousness, to capitalism, to being yourself, to, really honoring your well-being, committing to health, right? Like you're consistent in your messaging, and that's why it works.
Well, and it took a while to get there, right? I didn't start my career standing on big stages talking to thousands of people. And I think that you brought up a point. You have 8 women sitting on your sofa with your cats and starting a dialogue and workshopping what it is that you say and how you say it and how it affects and sparks the people sitting across from you. And that conversation, as it starts to distill and get more and more coherent, that's the one that then kind of carries you into bigger rooms, and it's kind of an organic growth. And I love that frame of reference because people are so afraid of getting out of their shell. Well, it starts with the 3 to 5 people that you can get in to start incubating and then go from there. It starts with the people in your world and the people that you could pressure test your message with, it sounds like.
That's right. And, let's look a little bit about the reality of bringing a message to the world right now in 2016, right? We have the internet, which obviously we all need to get online at some point. The internet has information at our fingertips and millions of users on the other side of our computer screen. However, the internet is loud and crowded, right? People on the internet have been doing this for years. And so why not fine tune your message before you get online? Why not get clear by, really practicing, like you said, on real life 3-dimensional beings? Get some of those success stories, get some feedback and walk some people through some transformational experiences, have the guinea pig experience and get some testimonials and then infuse that into your marketing. Now, when you get online, you're going to be clear on what you're up to. You're going to have the languaging to describe it. You're going to have success stories to help you market yourself. You're going to make that much more of a splash in a short amount of time.
So I love this point because I think it's been missed. I think a lot of people in my life are like, holy crap, how did you understand how to talk to people online so well? You're messaging this, that, and the other. And I stop and I say, what are you talking about? I have thousands of patients that I've sat and bled with. I've sat and cried with. I've sat and like gone through their life's trials and tribulations. I could think of 100 faces right now with the problem that we're talking about. And so I've had live human contact that's inspired a level of dialogue that I know is authentic and real because it came from an authentic and real interaction that I'm now sharing with cameras online, not the other way around. So I think a lot of people just try to go online and start doing a dance. And you've created this conversation, this argument around anchoring it in around live events with real people, because that's what keeps it real.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And what I really want to say about that too is that not only are they going to be connected to you, but you're going to be connected to them. And we're going to be able to, as leaders, pick up on their body language, pick up on their resistances, talk to them about their resistances. And your body of work is going to unfold so much clearer and with so much more confidence, because right now where you're sitting, some of you are wondering, like, what is my message? Like, where do I even get started? Well, you don't actually have to know where to get started. All you have to know is one thing that you want to teach a group of people. And from there, it builds and it builds and it builds. And your body of work is going to be stronger if you build the plane as you're flying it. I know it sounds scary, versus you going in the closet and creating a bunch of content, because when you actually are answering the moment-to-moment calls of somebody's questions and their evolutions, as you create your body of work, your transformational processes, or your system of leadership that may be unfolding through you, it's actually going to be relevant to what real live human beings need. And we so often think we want to know what people need, but we actually don't until we start talking to them.
I got a good friend who's been trying to launch an online program for 2.5 years. Very smart doctor who just can't, he's just, analysis paralysis and, such a perfectionist that it's like, get this damn thing out. Like, you could help people. It's not, what is it? Perfection is the enemy of good.
Totally.
Right. And it's just, you got to step out there. So you, in your framework, you have this thing that you say is connection equals currency, because from this iteration of you kind of stepping out there and just kind of engaging in what you're doing and trying it with a few people in your world, what happens as those connections then start to kind of get out there and crawl out there into the universe? Because there's a lot of magic there.
Yeah, it's such a great inquiry. And this idea that connection equals currency is so real. I was just talking to one of my clients about this morning. She has a detox program for weight loss. And she did this webinar. She's like, Sage, I had 300 people on the webinar, and not one person bought and not one person answered my email. And I was like, well, were you engaged with them? And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, did you ask them to post on the Facebook page? Or did you ask them inquiries along the way? Did you talk about your program? Did you take some questions, some live questions? Especially when you're getting started, taking those live questions and following up with people individually. Connection is currency, right? People buy from people they trust. People take action. People choose to stay with and follow people they trust. And in the beginning, when you're building up those connections, it's all about the intimacy. And so often we want to get behind the computer screen and, push a few buttons and be like, all right, everybody follow me. But the truth is that the internet is just like any other forum for meeting people. Those are real people on the other side of the screen. Yeah. And they want to know that you know who they are. And so what I told her to do was I told her to go and do what another one of my clients did a few weeks ago, do another webinar and actually chat with people on Facebook and take some live questions. Well, her friend, who actually did that 3 weeks ago, she's doing a healer training, had followed up with about a dozen of the people that she saw who were on her webinar through the Facebook messages. Half of those people ended up becoming her paying clients. So she ended up getting 6 long-term paying clients just from following up with people individually, not necessarily the people that clicked buy now on the computer screen that was flashing. It's like such a story that we can just like throw some stuff online and the computer screen's flashing like buy now and you can go make $5 million. Well, and we all want to learn how to make money while we sleep. I like to say we have to learn how to make money while we're awake first.
That's really good. There's this promise of kind of internet riches that's permeated, and there's a lot. I mean, for anyone who's not in like the internet world, because I didn't come from the internet world, I came from like the medical world, the monk world, and there's a lot of kind of like well-established, organized douchebaggery, right? A lot of people that are just shitty, trying to sell things that people shouldn't be buying anyways, and so it's like it's hard to trust anything on the internet because of these douchebags. And so to a point you were making earlier, yes, you have to understand what people authentically want and kind of connect with them in that way. But the best way to do that is to be a real person and authentically let them connect with the real you. So, it's like, this is, you get what you see here, right? Like this is, I couldn't even try to pretend to be someone else. It's too hard. It's too much work. But it's when you first get in, I was like, oh, I should behave. I should be this. I should be that person. And things got way easier for me as I just shut up and like let that storefront, the necessity for a storefront go away and just be yourself. And I think that's a lot of your power is you're like, hey, I was a little school teacher and, I wasn't living my big life and I stepped through it and this is how. And to me, that's a compelling message.
Yeah, thank you. I always like to tell my clients, and I do this too, it's like in the first few minutes, share something really vulnerable with people and share some credibility. Because if you're just being vulnerable and you're sharing something you're still bleeding from, now it's all about you. It's not all about them. But they want your vulnerability because it dissolves those barriers between them and you, right? So I'm sure you've heard about some of Pedram's, trials and tribulations. He's going through the process of being a new dad all over again, I share the same thing with my clients. I started my business alongside the most painful moment of my life. My personal life was falling apart. I went through a painful divorce 4 years ago. And this was the moment that my business went into the multiple six figures. Alongside it, my personal life is crumbling. And I'm guessing that's probably happening for some of you too. Your personal life may actually be in full-on transformation alongside the dreams, alongside the visions, alongside the ideas. And I'm here to remind you that it's actually in the transformation that your message lies, that your life has been a PhD program for that message that you're here to bring. And if you can bring some of that vulnerability in the first few minutes of being in leadership and getting to know someone, and also bring your credibility, talk about clients if you've had clients, talk about someone you've helped, talk about a company that you've supported, talk about your sister if you helped your sister through a rough moment. You don't even need to say it's your sister, but just be you, be real. There's something amazing about you and there's something really fucking hard that you've been through. We've all been on a hero's or a shero's journey, and so share that. It's what's going to have people trust you.
Love it. And that's what pierces the veil of all of this kind of noise. Because, you get all these like glib, smiling, shitty TV kind of vibe people that you don't know who they are. And you can't trust someone if you can't feel the trust, it's over, right? So now I'm listening to this and I'm sitting here thinking, all right, I have a message. I really want to help the world in X, Y, or Z way. And I feel like I want to step through my own personal trials and tribulations and really bring this out. What are my steps? How do I do this? How do I, because I'm afraid. I don't want to. And I know the world could use, the stronger me, but I'm afraid. So what do I do, Sage?
Yep. So first of all, you want to use your fear as an asset rather than something that holds you back. You want to recognize that your fear is there because you're human and it'll keep you humble. It's going to keep you connected to your audience. The minute that we stop being afraid is the minute we actually become disconnected from the people we're here to serve. So stay connected to that. It keeps you in your heart. Second of all, you're going to want to really ask yourself, how do you want to serve? Who do you want to help? Who are these people that you have a message for? And what do you actually want to provide them that matches up with the things they really want? right? And so many of us want to bring a message. We want to look at where that message actually overlaps with what people are asking for, because that overlap, that's your sweet spot. And that's where you can actually start moving from like having a hobby or a passion into actually making money doing it. And so you want to be providing clear results for people, right? You want to be in a conversation that people really want to be in, right? You want to be addressing some of the stuff that like they're talking to their best friends about, they're complaining to their best friends about, right? It's so easy to come out and just say, I want to teach meditation. Well, you and every other meditation teacher that charges $12 an hour wants to teach meditation. I say that with total love. It doesn't mean that you're not absolutely profound and amazing, but we want to know how you can actually provide something that other meditation teachers might not be providing. It's also coming through you, through your life experience. So be willing to start sharing some of yourself. And then you're going to want to really consider, what are the steps that I take people through? If someone came to me with this set of challenges or problems or aches, they're disconnected from themselves, they're not making decisions very easily, they're trapped in confusion, what's the process? What are the steps? And I like to say it's really ideal if you can start brainstorming what a 6 to 10 step system would look like, right? Because oftentimes we like to work with people for at least half a dozen sessions to actually get them from where they are to where they want to go. And once you have that body of knowledge starting to unfold, again, it doesn't have to be perfect, to actually take some people through it. I had half a dozen practice clients when I first opened my practice that I was just like, hey, can I practice on you? Like I have some tools, I have some exercises, I think they're going to be helpful. All I want in return is a success story. Like if you get something out of this in 2 months, write it down for me and let me use it in my marketing. And I got so much information out of actually just getting out there and doing it. And then throughout those sessions, I would ask those people, like, what was this worth to you? I remember one woman looked in my eyes, she goes, Sage, this was worth probably $2,000 or $3,000 a month to me. You have no idea how long I've been looking for someone to actually tell me how to build this business. She's like, I've been waiting for years, right? It's those moments where your confidence is going to start to take massive leaps. And again, there's no substitute for getting out there and getting that kind of feedback from people than just doing it. And so that's the first few steps.
It's funny is I have a program that I've taught for years. And it wasn't something that I made up in the shower or, all these kind of things that people are like, oh, I got to have an online program. It's something that I was doing for myself for years. And then all the people around me are like, dude, what the hell are you doing? That's, seems like you're doing some cool shit. And I was like, oh, here. And then I showed them and it worked for them. And then I showed some patients and it just organically grew into what it is. And it was because I pressure tested it in reality and we found parts that worked. We found parts that didn't work. And it just became this kind of organic, natural growth that had testimonials built in because it had results that were working because we worked with real people and made that happen. So I really love that kind of homegrown message that you're bringing for that. There's a piece where if I am stuck in some sort of corporate job right now, and I know that I can do greater things, but I got mouths to feed and I'm kind of stuck. And I'm thinking, okay, well, first of all, what the hell is this? What is Pedram talking about? We have a whole Conscious Capital series, and this is my friends like Sage are here to talk about how to transform your position in the world to be a member of this kind of conscious capitalism movement. So stick with this here. So then the question becomes, how can I step through this? This isn't a conversation for me. Who are the people? I want some examples of types of people that have gone through this type of methodology that are now kind of out there in their greatness so that my listeners can understand that this is about every single one of you stepping into your good juju here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, Susan Pierce Thompson, right? Susan Pierce Thompson started out as a psychology professor. Before that, she worked corporate. Susan has this methodology to help people lose weight. It's all based in brain science. She knew she had something for the greater public rather than just the students that were coming to her at the University of Delaware or wherever she taught. But she had to actually get that she had to actually hone in on what is my process? How is it different than the content I'm teaching my college students? How is it different than what I've learned at Overeaters Anonymous? How is it different from Weight Watchers? She started beta testing her process with real live human beings. She beta tested it with her sister. She beta tested it with everyone she could get her hands on. Once she did that, she started making videos online and she just posted them on Facebook. People loved them. They started sharing them with her friends. It grew very organically into her first launch, which brought in a few thousand viewers. And she just teamed up with Ocean Robbins to do a $1.7 million food freedom launch. Susan is one of my clients. I know her history. I know where she came from. If Susan can do it, so can you. Every single one of you has been through something that the world is ready for. And it's really just a matter of, like Pedram and I are saying, to get it out there one step at a time. Here's the thing. What you know in your life experience, it feels like the water you swim in because you've been swimming in it. And you're hanging out with people who are like attracts like, right? So you're hanging out with all these people that kind of know what you know. Well, guess what? Not everybody knows what you know. Your neighbor doesn't probably, or some of your neighbors don't know what you know. You've been through a set of life experiences, a set of understandings. Maybe you've been to workshops. Maybe you've read books. Maybe you've had your own personal hell that you crawled yourself out of. Whatever it is, there's a way that you're awake to something that most people just aren't. And it starts with you really getting clear on giving yourself the credit for what you've been through, and then just being willing to get that message out one step at a time.
And one project at a time, according to you. I'm guilty of this, right? I'm so good at manifesting that I will like machine gun Uzi manifest a million things in a row, and then it just creates like trouble, right? It creates drama, and it's not great for the organization. It's not great for, my wife wants to kill me, and all of it. So one project at a time, bring it to fruition and really kind of hatch it. I'd love for you to kind of elaborate on that more, because the culture we live in is very fast-paced in that way, and we want to do everything now.
Yeah. And this is something that I think the feminine in us intuitively understands. When we dig, we're resourceful. We birth. When we're birthing, it's one freaking thing coming through us, right?
Unless you got twins.
Unless you got twins. When we're digging for water in our backyard, there's that great metaphor, right? If we're digging a well in our backyard, we've got to dig one deep hole all the way down until water starts flowing into that thing before we dig another hole, right? If we dig shallow holes all over our backyard, we could totally go thirsty, right? When you're willing to commit to one thing, and I'm not saying you can't do anything else, but when you're willing to commit to building your business around one thing, you'll be surprised at how people start to actually recognize you as something other than just a visionary or a dreamer, right? We need to get you positioned as somebody who's not just an idea junkie, but someone who can actually run through the finish line, right? I know I had to build my finishing muscles when I first started. I'm like you, Pedram. Like, I could be doing 18 things at once, and I want to be. And now that I'm running the $1 million company over here, I can have these verticals, right? Where I bring people in to do this part. Now I can start this new project. But let's all be honest. Business isn't the only thing that's important to us. In fact, for most of us, one of the reasons we want the business is so we can have the lifestyle freedom. We can have more time with our families. We can travel. We can experience our own self-growth and self-evolution. And so I encourage you to consider that one thing metaphor. Really, when it comes to business, less is more. And when you can get money coming into one well at a time until money is flowing into that well and that well is self-profitable, then launch your next project. Yep. I've never actually seen anybody be super successful doing two huge projects alongside each other. I just actually have never seen it in the decade that I've been in this world. I don't know if you have, but the people that rise quickly, they're rising with like one unified statement.
Yeah, the people that I see doing it are people that did it the right way for decades and now have departments. So like Richard Branson will be like, all right, great, here's, we're gonna put the top brass of my organization and a business plan together, and I'm gonna invest in it, and then they're gonna report up, and I'm gonna just follow data. That's and when you're
he has the resources for that, right?
And he's a baller, and he's developed methodology to make sure that he doesn't, no one drops the ball, and there's a chain of command and all that. If you're not there yet, go back and tie your shoes and start jogging and make sure you don't trip on yourself. And so I think that's huge, because a lot of people, there's just a lot of business coaches out there talking a lot of shit and confusing people and actually being of disservice to people who just run around like chickens with their heads cut off. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that you're actually drawing people out to step into who they are for live events, live interaction, and all that.
Yeah. I'm picking up what you're laying down, Pedram. And I also want to say that if you're a big thinker like Pedram and I, and I'm sure many of you are, that's why you're here. You are one. The sooner you can get profitable with the business that you know is next for you, the sooner you can get a team of people up underneath you to help you implement all the things you don't want to do, the sooner then you can build out another vertical, right? And so when I hire people, I throw them in and I'm like, you're going to train yourself. And if you're not ready for that, you're not my person. And you're going to be creating systems as you go, right? So my assistants are all creating their own customer support manuals. They're creating their own job description, and they're putting the systems up underneath my company so that as we grow, I don't have to do it all anymore. Pedram, I know that you have that same philosophy. Hands off. The more we can get our hands off it, the more then we can grow and we can be saying yes to all the things that we want to say yes to.
Well, and you're also empowering people to step into their strengths, and it's very hard. You want to micromanage everything, but it's just like, like I want my people, like Lorenzo is going to be directing his own movie within the next year or so, because he's learned everything and like worked his way through, just kind of like he's that guy now, right? And so that's what I want. I want everyone to kind of like grow into their power here, right? And it's not easy. Like look, I came from a different world. I'm not like a manager dude, right? And so a lot of this shit you got to learn. You want to get into business for yourself, you got to learn a lot of things that you otherwise would not have known, but you kind of realize you need them later. And that's fine, right? Start with the idea, start with actually finding something like a methodology that can actually help people. And that's what you want to share. So,
and build your finishing muscles.
Build those finish. I like that. I'm borrowing that and using that on my own mantras here. So Sage, you do training, you got a book coming out. I'd love for you to just kind of help people find you, because I love you. I think you've got a delightful energy and you're doing great work for the world. So how do people find you?
It's so great to be here. I'm at sagelavine.com, and I'd love to be in touch with you guys. I am about ready to launch a quiz, an assessment for aspiring workshop leaders. So be sure to take that quiz. You can find it at sagelavine.com/quiz. And that's going to be a place where you can actually assess what kind of workshop leader are you, what kind of events do you want to lead, whether you want to lead events in your workplace, in your community, or start to lead events as a business owner. Are you more of a facilitator type, or do you love rocking the stage? And then based on what you're most drawn to doing and where your natural talent lies, how can you leverage that talent to reach a lot more people and make a bigger contribution in the world and make great money as well? So that'll be a great resource for you guys. And it's just awesome to be here. Pedram, I'm so glad you've brought us all together. The Urban Monk continues to inspire me.
Love you. Love you. This is great. I love what you're doing. And just empowering people to step into their power. That's beautiful stuff. So Sage Lavine, thank you so much. And we'll be seeing you around.
Remember, your clients are waiting for you. They're not just waiting for someone like you. They're actually waiting for you. There's something that you can say that nobody else can say, just like you do. I love you, Pedram. Thank you.
All right, let me know what you think. I love conscious entrepreneurial conversation. I love conscious capitalism. I like anything that gets us to step into our greatness and be part of an economy that helps make the world a better place. That's why she's here. That's why Sage is one of my friends. I love what she's doing. Let me know what you think in the comments. theurbanmonk.com. Check out my 7-day reboot. It is free for you, and I want you to check it out because I want you to step into your greatness. And I'm giving you a bunch of free tools to do so.